Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session of Cybersecurity Live. I'll shortly be handing you over to Richard Beck, who is Director of Cyber at QA, to talk about how much your business should really be spending on cybersecurity. For anyone who's just joining us this afternoon, however, just a couple of reminders for you. To the left of this viewing pane, you'll be able to leave a question for Richard under the polls tab, and we will have some time for questions at the end of this session. And if you'd like to watch the presentation in a larger viewing screen, just hit the Enter Theatre Mode button below the current viewing pane. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Richard now, let him deliver his presentation, and then I'll come back to you for some questions at the end. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you've heard some really interesting things from the speakers that have taken part in the conference earlier on today. I'm going to talk to you about how much your business should really spend or be spending on cybersecurity. I'm the Director of Cyber at QA, responsible for our products, our programs and portfolio, and partnerships, and the cyber curriculum here at QA. Now, your perspective on what your organisation spends on cyber and security really does depend on your lens. And there are statistics that are, and we've become quite familiar with statistics, probably more than we ever would have normally, as they penetrate our daily lives around the pandemic statistics. And we look at charts and bar graphs and even drill into some of these regional statistics and how they might be impacting us. So, but within this space, there's no shortage of statistics telling us what the spend rates across different parts of industry, across different parts of organisations, geographies, how much spending is going up, going down. And actually, what it does tell you is there is no real sense of truth about any of the statistics that exist across cybersecurity spending. I'll give you some examples of the way they transition between looking at a metric. For example, enterprises, are predicted to spend billions on tools, if you listen to what Forrester would say. Now, if we look at other organisations, we know that security breaches are still on the rise. Business decision makers believe that the change in remote working has increased the likelihood of a cyber breach. So would you think that that would increase cybersecurity spending? So we think about, now Barracuda Research did some metrics across phishing related attacks directly related to the pandemic. So we know that CDC, our World Health Organization, have reported this particular rise, and this is a 400% increase in coronavirus type related spear phishing attacks into organizations. Now, are they successful? Because we are many of us working at home and our guard is slightly down, given our surroundings or potential distractions. Are we more likely to be interested in coronavirus type phishing emails because of our need and thirst for information around the pandemic? They could argue that we're a bit fatigued around those sorts of statistics, but the evidence says actually we're still hungry for knowledge, and if it's plausible in its in how it addresses your individual need, then your thirst for that type of information, you're going to click. Now, the annual growth and the global growth in terms of where that spend comes from and how it's transitioning between year on year on year, and that prediction is just going up higher and higher. When we think about cybersecurity budgeting and how that's steadily increased, the value and the importance of cybersecurity assets, investments that organisations have made, cybersecurity budgets continue to increase by up to 60% when you look at the data. Now, what does that mean about security services versus budgets? average cost of an impact. That's something that we should consider, that actually cyber spending is continuing to grow. But as we look at the pandemic, as we look at the impact of that across organisations, across industries, and the squeeze, depending on where the cybersecurity budget comes from, if that's within an organisation where there's only so much technical IT budget to share, will that investment decrease? What's your organisation doing? Is your organisation reducing its spend versus investing? Is the transition to digital transformation in your organisation creating additional security challenges, or is that part of the transformation? Are the security challenges being weaved in? So the most expensive component that we can think of for a cyber attack and a data breach, we think about where that might land itself, is that, are we more at risk if we spend less? Well, what the statistics tell us is that leaders are not convinced that spending on the technology and spending on the tools is actually providing the comfort that they would need. And we can see here that despite the acquisition of tools, despite the acquisition of technologies designed to resist or defend against a threat actor, we know that spending on infrastructure protection alone is expected to hit 24 billion in 2023. And that, when we think about the transition to cloud native technologies, and where we're shifting that, endpoint security is expected to decrease. But actually, overall, are we really seeing value for money when 70% of breaches are still occurring at the end point? So when we've got decision makers that are questioning the value of the spend, we need to start to think about, well, where is that investment being made? And are we making it in the right place? So when you think about the transition across endpoint security versus education and that spend, when you look at the budget changes completely due to a pandemic. So what's going up, what's going down? So we can see here data from US, United Kingdom, India and Germany. And this is from a report that Microsoft produced that shows the shift and transition in spending and cybersecurity specific spending due to the pandemic. I think this is interesting if you consider where we were to where we are, and those parts of the world that have no change versus an increase. And actually, when you think about where that increase is coming from, why does that matter? Well, actually, budgets are, in terms of the more increasing budgets than decreasing. This is probably, when I look at the statistics, one of the most up-to-date. PwC canvassed a large audience, and this survey report was produced this week. We think about the where it's increased, a particular net increase. You can see that actually cybersecurity budgets are increasing, but are they being addressed in the right place? Are we spending the money in the right place within the organisation? Are we improving and raising the cybersecurity posture within the organisation? That's, when we think about the most expensive component of a cyber attack is the loss of information. And Accenture would say that that's up to $6 million worth of lost opportunity. So when you think about the turnover of customers, increased acquisition activities, reputational loss, when we think about the goodwill and how the goodwill could be compromised, think about the individual organizations that are still suffering despite recovering on the face of it from a ransomware attack. Now, I could have produced lots and lots of different slides on ransomware attacks. and the destructive nature of cybercrime. And actually, cybercrime is a threat to industry, as a threat to organisations worldwide. There is no safe place to hide from ransomware. There is no organisation safe from the threat of ransomware. And the challenges that organisations have when the ransomware threat actor started compared to where they are now, what that modus operandi looks like, and the impact on the organisation. Not only will you be crippled from the activities that you would have been serving your customers or internally, but actually the data loss, the exfiltration of that information, and the disclosure of that information out to the markets, or as a disguise for the attack that may very well be manifesting itself somewhere else within your organization. So it's clear that the threats continue to increase. It's clear that despite statistics saying one thing, going up, going down, most recently in terms of pandemic spending, and most recently in terms of cybersecurity budget questions, we know that spending is increasing. But are we spending it in the right place? And that's my challenge. Are we really spending the money in the right place? Because we have a talent shortage. So spending money on investing in applications, in platforms, and investing in security tools, whether they be on-premise, off-premise, on the cloud, out of the cloud, really it's, have you got the right cyber talent within your organization to account for and get the best return on investment for the tools that you've acquired, not just today, but over its life cycle? Do you have, and are you using the best layer of defense inside your organization at the right time? Now, we know that there is a talent shortage within the cyber industry, and that's not gone away. And actually, as we look through year on year, the lack of talent, and certainly the right type of talent at a senior level, at a experienced security architecture layer, where we know there are a gap, and actually right at the very entry level. That's notwithstanding the challenges that still beset the industry around the making sure that we have the right type of diverse community to succeed, because the threat actor that we face, particularly here in the United Kingdom, the threat actor that we face is diverse. So it could be argued the best way to deal with a diverse threat actor is to have a diverse set of individuals that are trying to compete and to challenge the adversary and disrupt the adversary. Now, skills gap isn't shrinking. When we look at how hard it is to find the right type of talent to fit the organization's needs, when we look at why we have unfilled open security positions still in place, when we look at organizations that could be fulfilling their needs through an apprentice direction, through talent gaps that they have within their organization, and driving through those individuals into the business and wider IT. Now, we know that cybersecurity underpins technology. So when we think about those individuals that could be retrained, reskilled inside your own organization, rather than waiting to fill that unique, some would say that unicorn position, that it's been vacant for so long, actually looking and reaching inside your own organization to see where you've got hidden talent, a depth of hidden talent across the entire organization that could help to plug the gaps that you have for those very difficult to find security positions by releasing talent at a lower level. So releasing talent at that entry level, at that lower level, allows the growth within your organization to take advantage not only of you successfully filling the vacancy that you've had And of course, the transition and the complexity of filling those roles, all the way up to a security architect role, will indeed take a period of time. But just because it's hard doesn't mean that we shouldn't think about doing that. And to ignore the talent that we have within our own organisation is really short-sighted. So now, of course, it's not a silver bullet. So, you know, many times, and in my career, you know, having sat in front of a vendor that will say, actually, this will solve this problem, this will solve that problem, this will go a long way to addressing these challenges, is more palatable than actually, this is the answer, this is the solution, this will detect, this will help you to defend, and this will help you to deter the threat actor. And those types of initiatives really start to come unstuck if we don't have the talent to technology ratio right. So that talent to technology ratio spans across cyber more than most technical disciplines. So not just the cybersecurity professional, but also the project manager, the service delivery teams, the whole IT function, the application support and software developers. So having security and layering the right type of talent inside the organization at the right level, specific types of interventions for the right people at the right time, that's role specific for those individuals, doing the right things and allowing them to do the right things. When we talk about cyber hygiene and raising that bar above the hygiene bar, so that's beyond basic security awareness. That's the next layer up. That's looking at the roles in the organisation and saying, well, actually, what can we do here that makes a difference? What can we do here that will get the best interaction from our organisation? Are we using our best assets? When we think about the human firewall, and do we have the right people in the right roles, doing the right thing, knowing the right amount of information to help best defend and protect? Our staff and our users are not the weakest link. They're actually the strongest opportunity to help defend the organisation, where the best level of return on investment is. But why? Why would we educate to protect, to prevent security breaches? We think about the obvious security awareness training that helps prevent those security breaches. People working in the same organisation. We know that where post-awareness, we have an uptick in people being more conscious. You can influence your culture within inside the organisation. How you can make a genuine difference by making sure that attempts that are measured from the outset, using those same measures and metrics as time goes on. You can nurture and develop that culture of security and make your individuals a part of your proactive defence. Not just technological defences, but you are obviously making a valuable weapon in preventing those breaches by upskilling and making sure that those human firewalls are turned on, particularly when we have a work from anywhere type culture. You can help to win more customers, not just being safe, but actually being able to demonstrate that you are compliant and that you're behaving in the socially responsible manner, and that you're actually investing in the individuals and the well-being of those individuals. It's very well documented that security training just doesn't keep people safe at work, but actually keeps them safe at home as well. But actually, if we're working from home, we have a moral responsibility, don't we? A moral responsibility to help support the individuals at home in a work from anywhere environment. Very few businesses will return to the old normal. So in the new normal, educated to protect is a better return on investment. Now, we also think that building in talent at the earliest stage helps those individuals, when they get to a senior position, take the right steps, be able to make and communicate in the right language. So educating early in the program for within our future security leader program allows that tiered talent to be nurtured through an organisation, not just when they get to a senior position say, well, actually, you didn't have the right level of investment, therefore you are bereft of the skills that are required for security leaders to be able to do what they need to do at a senior level. Not just being technically competent, but actually being rounded individuals. We think that's really important. So educating to protect provides a stronger business case and a more robust ROI for organisations, not just the investment in security technology. We know that security technology spend is increasing. We know that the cost of cyber breaches is increasing, but actually investing in your organisation, in your talent that sits within your business, where you can't fulfil those roles, reaching in and educating to help build the right level of tiered talent, as well as taking advantage of the opportunity to upskill individuals that manage security programs, whether that be your project manager, upskilling those individuals that provide a level of triage before it goes anywhere else, your IT service teams. And we consider that the investment across and raising that security hygiene bar will pay dividends, because as the evidence shows, getting 80% of the basics right goes a very, very long way to thwart even a determined adversary. I am happy to take any questions that we might have.
Thanks, Richard. That was fantastic. Thanks for your presentation. And we have had quite a few questions coming as well, which is great. So we'll crack on if that's okay, and try and get as many in as we can. So first one, we have no officially trained cyber officers, but 2 members in another field / department of IT. So is that kind of official training required, is the question.
Depending on whether it's a regulatory requirement, you could say, depending on the level of expertise and requirement, there would be some, from a regulatory point of view or a compliance point of view, that actually being competent and having competence in a range of skills might be required. So, for example, data protection would require a level of competence over somebody wearing a hat within an organisation. I would say it could be even better than what's being presented.
Great, thank you. And another question here, it says, it seems the majority do want the cyber talent, but then with the budgets decreasing, do you conclude that there is too much talk and not enough investment in recruiting the talent and funding for those jobs?
Well, I guess if you look at the argument that I'm trying to make, then that there will be a squeeze on budget within organisations and potentially on headcount, but there are always creative ways of managing that, whether that's addressing the talent gap because you can onboard skills within your organisation to fit a particular need, but actually that could be capitalised or be an OPEX cost that was convenient to fix a short-term problem. Equally, there's got to be something really when we consider when we've got a talent shortage and we can't fulfill those roles, being creative. So if there is no movement on budget, actually being able to upskill somebody slowly, releasing that talent that you have at one level and building that in and investing inside your own organisation, because we are making changes. Every business is making changes as a result of the pandemic. But if that means that there are headcount or structural changes in the organisation, or as part of a digital transformation, there's got to be an opportunity to retrain. You would be surprised. A curiosity for security would be the bare bones as a prerequisite, and we can build from there.
Fantastic. Final question, we've got 2 minutes to go. There's a question here, what courses would you suggest an IT manager do to get trained in cybersecurity? Is there anything that springs to mind there, or any signposting you can offer?
So we have a number of pathways, because there are so many different types of cybersecurity management disciplines, whether that individual wear a technical hat, or a management hat, or a combination of both. So we created a series of pathways that I can happily share, as part of the presentation that gets put onto the website. That pathway will allow for actually the foundational skills, intermediate skills, and expert skills. So you can see, where do I start? Where do I get on? Where should I transition to? And where should I aspire to be? And depending on your own individual journey, those pathways help you position and also forecast and ask for the right budget so that you can make the right investments, whether that be a combination of self-studying. On our, we have an amazing Cloud Academy platform that has digital skills across all technology that includes security, as well as virtual training, as well as non-security professional training to be able to give those individuals. So introducing a subject to a non-security person. So the pathways would be a great place to address that specific question. And if that person contacts me directly, I'm happy to give some further guidance.
Fantastic, thanks. And it's probably worth just noting to the whole audience really that there will be slides shared and recordings of sessions available post-event within the platform. And Richard, if that's anything that you want to feedback through to me as well, we can always include that when we upload your files for you. Okay. Thanks, Richard, then. That was a great presentation. Thank you to the audience for your engagement. We are moving on again with pace, so our next session is due to start in 5 minutes. If the delegates could head back to the agenda and join that presentation from there. Thanks once again, Richard.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.